In the rich fabric of the Orthodox Christian tradition, where every thread is loaded with history and profound spirituality, history bequeathed the remarkable story of Simeon Stăniloiu, known as Simeon the Stylite. This spiritual figure is part of the ascetic tradition of the Stylite, those monks who, starting with Saint Simeon the Stylite in the 5th century, chose to live on pillars or columns, dedicating themselves to prayer, fasting, and penance in a ceaseless search for closeness to God. Simeon Stăniloiu, or Simeon the Stylite, is known to be a personality associated with the Romanian Orthodox tradition. However, specific information about his life, contributions, period, and significance within the Romanian Orthodox Church or local religious history is more challenging in general religious or historical references. Saint Simeon the Stylite, also known as Simeon the Elder, was an Orthodox Christian ascetic living in Syria in the 5th century. He is celebrated for pioneering living atop a pillar, which he did for 37 years. This extreme form of spiritual living was intended to achieve a greater closeness to God and was characterized by constant prayer, fasting, and exposure to the elements. Simeon's life and ascetic practice drew attention from the Christian world and beyond, making him a revered figure in Christian hagiography. Since precise details about his life and activity are not at hand, we will try to outline a narrative enriched with the general elements of the Stilt tradition, applying them in the Romanian context, with the recognition that these details could be hypothetical and inspired by the general practice of the stilts, rather than historically documented events. Simeon the Stylite would have lived in an unspecified period, possibly reflecting a time when Orthodox Christianity was in a phase of spiritual consolidation and renewal in the Romanian territories. By choosing the path of the stilts, Simeon would have sought solitude and isolation from the earthly world, climbing a pillar as a symbol of renunciation of the worldly and total dedication to divine contemplation and prayer, living in complete austerity. Exposed to the elements, Simeon the Stylite would have become a spiritual reference point for the surrounding community, a living example of sacrifice and devotion to the faith. The people of the region, impressed by his stoicism and holiness, would have come to him for advice and blessings, and to listen to his preaching while bringing him offerings of food and water, which he would have used sparingly, keeping, and the harsh fast. Saint Simeon the Stylite thus becomes not only a symbol of extreme asceticism, but also a bright spot in the history of Romanian Orthodox spirituality, reminding us that, regardless of the era or context, the search for oneself and the approach to the divine is essential in spiritual life. Through his life of prayer and sacrifice, Simeon the Stylite invites us to reflect on our spiritual dedication and find ways to elevate ourselves spiritually, always seeking divine light and guidance. In the absence of concrete data on the life and times of Simeon the Stylite, this narrative attempts to capture the essence and inspiration that his figure can offer believers, encouraging us to look to examples of holiness as sources of inspiration in our spiritual journeys.